rock some more, yeah. Now when you get out here.
Welcome to the Thought Brothers. Today, November 12th, and even as we are on recording live here, there's all kinds of talk about the government shutdown. And we'll talk about that. This is our Hot Topic show. I will tell you this. I went to the ICE homepage a couple hours ago, trying to help out a buddy of mine. I went to the ICE homepage and I saw just on the homepage a picture of Uncle Sam pointing out to everybody about Uncle Sam needs you. And then I saw on that homepage what ICE is offering. Now, look, I'm a former federal special agent. I've made my living as a trainer. They have lowered the standards just based on what I've seen. The standards have been lowered. That's a fact. Hiring individuals who aren't qualified is why we see what we see in the streets right now with ICE. They said you can be 18. You don't need a college degree, student loan forgiveness. You know what? Many of the people who they're hiring or attracting, they don't like immigrants anyway. And that's why they're giving all these perks. And so I can tell you right now, when people aren't properly trained, this is why we get what we get. So that's my little take, but I want to forward it over to you all. This is our Hot Take show. Mr. Spivey, you got 5 hot minutes in the tank to do whatever you want, and then we'll come back with the fellas. So it's over to you, the researcher.
What's up, Carlos, CJ, and Gary? How y'all doing? Look, I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said, Gary. You remember we did a show, it may have been a couple of years ago, and we were talking about law enforcement and the violence on citizens. And I think I made a statement of the shootings that were going on with unarmed individuals. And I said, you rarely hear that in the federal government as far as with the FBI, Secret Service, or any of those other agencies. And I contributed to the intense training that you go through.
Yep.
And that's what basically reduces the pain inflicted among individuals. But, you're talking about the shutdown. I talked to a friend of mine the other day, and they asked, what was I going to talk about tonight on the podcast? And the friend of mine said, you ought to talk about the hypocrisy of the current government that we have right now. So I'm going to just spend a few minutes talking about the hypocrisy of what's going on now. And I'm gonna break it down, and I'm going to give you a definition. The word hypocrisy is a practice of claiming to have moral standards or beliefs to which one's own behavior does not conform. It's essentially a form of deceit where someone's actions don't align with the image that they present or to portray to others. Talking about hypocrisy, I'm going to talk about something right now. I want to spend some time talking about the SNAP program. While millions of the American people are struggling to feed their kids, to pay their mortgage, and not lose their homes, your illustrious president this past week threw a party in Mar-a-Lago. And the theme on that party was the Great Gatsby, and even went so far as to entertain the guests with synchronized swimming, which you see in the Olympics. I'm going to continue to talk about deceit. He turned around and he gave $20 billion to Argentina. Now, people are perplexed as to why that money is being given to him, but at the same time that you give $20 billion to Argentina, you fight and go to court to keep from funding the SNAP program, which in essence, you heard a lot of people in years past, they call it food stamps. And it's the SNAP program, it's the Supplemental Nutritious Assistance Program. So you give $20 billion to Argentina, but you need about $40 billion to fund the SNAP program for all of the states through November. On top of that, he posted on social media that he would not give SNAP benefits or fund the government until the government reopens. So it's basically a blackmail. Give you another example of what I'm talking about. Uh, we talked about this before. When you try to hurt certain people, you hurt everybody. And we've heard for years that Black folks needed to stop being lazy and shifty and that they needed to get a job. Give you a prime example. The SNAP breakdown, the number of whites on SNAP is 35.4%. The number of blacks, 25.7%. The number of Hispanics, 15.6. And the number of Asians is 3.9. Now, to just go one step further, in Maryland, they need $62 million for the SNAP program for the year. DC needs 30 million and Virginia needs 1 million. This is for a month in order to fund this program. You don't want to fund SNAP and you go to court to fight to not fund the program. And out of this, what's going on right now, you have 42 million people who lost access to SNAP benefits. SNAP has never failed or been defunded, but twice. And both times it's been defunded or expired. The SNAP program expired. It was when Donald Trump was the president. So basically, I want to get you all's opinion on what do you think about this. And as I said, I gave you the definition of deceit. And what I've explained to you, it definitely shows deceit among the leader we have right now.
Well, you know, Mr. Spine, before they chime in, I don't know if you can see this, but I want to play something. And it's something that I saw yesterday, and it's connected to what you were talking about. Let me see if I can pull this up and play it, and I can edit it in. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this and see it.
I'm on the porch. I'm not eating breakfast because 42 million people as of last night still aren't going to get their SNAP benefits. And keep in mind, that's 42 million who get the benefits to feed their families, so it's more of our fellow Americans. Now, I want you to show this to all the MAGA supporters and the people that voted for Donald Trump because Kamala Harris had a funny laugh. We are not going to get food benefits. They've already done away with WIC under the Department of Agriculture. The people who said you must carry a baby to full term whether you want to or not because it's the Christian way are okay with starving families in the United States of America. I want you to know this. The President of the United States went to the Supreme Court after he was ordered to pay for SNAP benefits, and he asked for an emergency order to stay that so that people would continue to be hungry as a bargaining chip. That is plain and simple. And as much as the Republicans are trying to put this on the Democrats, these same people don't want to end it because then they own it. Because when they go through this, you're also going to lose your health care. Since 2015, Donald Trump has said he had a better plan. 2015. He was going to produce it within 2 weeks. And he kicks the can down the road. He has never once shown anybody what a better plan is than the Affordable Care Act, or as some people call it, Obamacare. He has never shown us what it is. He has never shown us what he's going to do better. He just keeps saying it's this mythical poof in the sky, it's going to be better. So you keep in mind, The President of the United States and his Republican enablers in Congress and the Senate are okay with you not having health care, with you paying higher prices for your insulin, and with families going hungry, especially during the month of November, which is Veterans Day, something he'll never get to celebrate, that frickin' coward that he is, and Thanksgiving, where tables will be empty. That's what's going on in America today. So keep in mind, people are going hungry because the taco doesn't want to have to spend the money he's been told to. Keep in mind, we have air traffic controllers who do not have food or gas money to get to work to be air traffic controllers because they're not being paid. A whole lot of government workers are furloughed, not getting paid, but our ICE agents, ICE agents are getting paid and getting $50,000 bonuses. That's what's going on in America this morning on November 8th. So, tell me again, after paying $1 billion for his airplane upgrade, after tearing down the East Wing of the White House, after giving Argentina $40 billion as a buyout and saying we're going to buy Argentinian beef, after blowing up boats out in the middle of the ocean, after doing these tariffs to where people can't afford to bring in things, after laying off almost 1 million people because of his policies, tell me, all of you who voted for that man, tell me how we are making America great again. Yeah, Mamaw just ripped your ass. Stay salty, everyone, because boy, I've got a whole ton of salt in this wound. And use your outside voice, just like Mamaw did. Bye-bye.
She trolling you, Mr. Spivey?
I'm telling you, I didn't need to say anything. I wish I had had that. I could have just pushed play. You know, one of the things that she brought up, and I think I said it before, this is the second largest shutdown in history of the United States. The first longest shutdown, do you know who was president? Donald Trump. The second one, Donald Trump. And one of the things that I tried to find some research today, just some of the actuaries, they predict things. A number of people are going to die because they can't get food, they can't get medicine. They're estimating that people who have to pay $300 a month for their medicine is going to jump to $1,000 to $1,500. People who pay $500, theirs can go as high as $3,000, which means that people are not going to be able to get insulin. And as we know from one of the guests we had on the show, Dr. Clark, diabetes is raging in the United States. People can't get insulin, they're going to die. But remember one thing, we had in 2020, we had 1.1 million people to die of COVID in the United States. And your president said it was a hoax, told people to drink Clorox, and a whole bunch of other bullshit. So when people start dying because they can't get food and the SNAP benefits, just remember, this guy's used to killing Americans.
All right, let's get some of the brothers in here. Come on, CJ, what you got?
Oh, what do I have? There's a lot to get into. All right, where do I start? I'm going to start. Well, you started the show with ICE. I'm just going to briefly touch on ICE. As you alluded before, ICE has been a disaster in terms of the amount of incidents they've had, amounts of mistakes that they've had from their lack of training, from, employing a bunch of Proud Boys and things like that. You don't see those Proud Boy rallies anymore because they have jobs and, they're working for ICE. And if you work for ICE, just talking to you personally, if you work for ICE, you're a loser. Like, you're a complete loser. You're hunting humans as a profession. As you said, maybe you have hate in your heart. Maybe you've got nothing better to do. Or maybe you've been convinced that if you get these people out of the country, your life will be better. But you're a loser. That's why you have to cover your face and you're being chased out of communities because you're not doing what Trump promised the job would be, which is to get rid of dangerous criminals and things like that. So just internalize that and know that you're a loser if you're a modern day slave catcher, and you want to do that as a job, there are plenty of other things you can do in America to make a honest living that doesn't involve destroying other people's families and kidnapping people, basically. But beyond that, if we're going to get into Trump, you laid out many ways already that Trump is a monster. Trump is administration is cruel. He's basically on some let them eat cake energy that with extravagant parties and building lavish ballrooms while, starving people, literally using starvation as a negotiation tool, very similar to his buddy Netanyahu using, a federal order in the Supreme Court to stop the allocation of food stamps during the shutdown. So we know why Trump is Trump, and he's extremely unpopular. He's extremely unpopular. By his own words, he was getting killed after those elections. He's getting killed on many different issues because he's terrible on affordability. He's losing part of his America First base as he continues to betray them in every which way. And like you said, prioritize bailouts for Argentina and blowing up random fishermen and things like that while ignoring pretty much everything domestically. As you pointed out, no healthcare policy to replace Obamacare or anything, or seems to have no interest in even coming up with one. And all these things, it is the reason why Trump was actually politically worse than he's been in a long time, underwater, losing control of his Republican coalition. And then the Democrats had a great opportunity. And this is where I have to lay into the Democrats. People always criticize me for criticizing the Democrats, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. What happened this week? They had the momentum. Everyone was blaming the Republicans for the shutdown, rightfully so. Trump, in his own words, said, I'm getting killed. I'm getting hammered on affordability. I'm getting hammered on all this. Democrats had all the momentum. They were up on the scorecards. Had them on the rope. So they decided to throw in the towel, as the Democrats do. Immediately unconditional surrender. So now they take ownership for the shutdown. They are taking ownership for the shutdown. So all the suffering, I was at the airport for 6 hours when I tried to fly home. All the chaos, the Democrats, for no reason, are now taking political responsibility for it. The senators that voted yes to betray the American people and raise their health care, all of those senators coincidentally are not up for re-election. How funny how that happens. No repercussions. All of them are either going to retire or they're just going to go away. All of them, Tim Kaine, Fetterman, all of them that voted yes. So one of two things is true, and none of them is good for Chuck Schumer. He is either the most incompetent Senate leader of all time. He's actually the most unpopular one of all time by polling, or he backstabbed everyone and colluded with all these senators and told all the ones that are safe and that their seats are safe and they're not up for re-election to vote so he can pretend that he was against it. And he sold you out to the river. Old Chuck Schumer, the same leadership that lost to Donald Trump, the same leadership that continues to kick at the football while, Charlie Brown style, the same leadership that continues to be the Washington Generals and haplessly lose even though they were up. As even the Onion article that has gone triple platinum by now, Chuck Schumer has snatched defeat from the jaws of victory is his legacy. So they were up and he just found a way to just surrender. They have some quotes from the Democrats that are so pathetic that you'll think they're satire. One of them was the senator, what was it? I don't even remember. One of the senators who voted to reopen the government said, we fought Donald Trump and it didn't work. So we gave up. Basically, they got no concessions. They literally got a pinky promise that Republicans would vote on the bill, and then Republicans were immediately asked, "Are you gonna, have a vote on healthcare?" Hell no, they weren't even. There's an article that came out that Zateo article that came out that talked about White House aides that were interviewed about this after the Democrats folded, and their exact quotes were, "The White House, for the most part, is cackling, sometimes literally about the turn of events. Two White House officials and two Trump advisors could barely contain their giddiness when asked about the Democrats capitulating to Trump. Multiple Trump aides and allies kept gratuitously using the term losers and pussies to describe the Democrats as they reveled in them taking responsibility for the shutdown, as Trump was already on the ropes and behind the scenes frantic about how he was getting killed politically. And I can tell you that personally, I wasn't at the game, but Donald Trump was at that Commanders game. I have friends that
Yeah.
work at that stadium. One of my friends gave me a video of his phone because he wanted me to hear exactly how loud those boos were and how aggressive. And I've been in that stadium hearing some boos as a Commanders fan. And let me tell you, I have never heard that level of booing for a commander just swearing in troops. You know, like Trump wasn't even doing there for an overtly political reason. Although I will kill Fox and their broadcast team for glazing him for 10 minutes. It was ridiculous. And that's the reason we're having the season we're having, is that type of bad vibes that we're having. But that's all I'll say about that. The Democrats, utterly pathetic. Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, all the leadership, they sold you out for nothing. There's going to be, your healthcare still going up. The government was shut down. Those people lost their pay for nothing. The Democrats literally just folded for absolutely nothing. And this is why I say I can't take them seriously. This is a controlled opposition party. I can't take them seriously because it doesn't seem like they have any interest in winning. They're just there to maintain the status quo and pretend that they're fighting and keep their cushy corporate jobs. So that's all I have to say about the shutdown in that situation.
Okay. Carlos.
Well, Mr. Spivey, CJ, and Gary, I'll
7
break
days.
my comments down to 3 parts: Democrats, Republicans, and money. Okay. Well, I'll take that back. Democrats, Republicans, and personal effects of how the government shutdown has affected me. All right. Because if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody, right? It's the average guy. But from a Democratic standpoint, the Democrats basically remind me of the Washington Commanders defense. They're playing defense and they're just getting crushed. They're trying to hold the fort down, but getting crushed. They have so many opportunities, like CJ says, and they simply just don't know how to close a game out. At this point, you need to think about, like I said, just totally blowing up the whole Democratic Party and just getting all new people in there with a different perspective, because it appears the Democrats have tunnel vision. Okay. They only see things one way. They're not seeing any options. They're not seeing whether we can run a trick play. They're not even trying to run a trick play. They're just going straight at it and just getting bulldozed. And at some point, you got to say, when is enough enough? Snap. Okay. How do we put this? I have seen posts from Republicans on social media. I've spoken to Republicans, and face-to-face co-workers, what it might be good to me, but the mindset is the government isn't supposed to pay for your meals or your housing or anything like that. They're just simply not supposed to. That's your responsibility, right? But I agree with what the lady said. Was that Mama?
Yeah.
Politics and porch.
Yeah.
If you're telling people they don't have a choice about having children, okay, if a pregnancy occurs, you need to have that baby, which is, we thought it was a woman's right to choose. I'm a man, so I'm not trying to tell a woman what to do. But that's a great point. You want people to have these families, and that means they're going to have larger families if they don't have options. And then at the same time, you can't feed them. So I think that overall, the Democrats, yeah, they just need a reboot. We're going to see what's going to happen. Now, again, the only thing that could save the Democrats is that, because you're right, the Republicans are doing so horrible, such a bad job, and their popularity is plummeting. The Democrats won't take advantage of that, but maybe the public or the American people will, and say, you know what? We gave the Republicans a chance. Maybe whoever's Democratic, let's just vote for them, because I think that might be the only way to save the Democratic Party at this point. From a Republican standpoint, it's all about money, okay? People who collect SNAP benefits, who need housing assistance, who need benefits from the government, they can't help certain Republicans raise their stock price because they can't invest in stock. They can't buy houses and Teslas and all these different things and load money into Wall Street. They can't do that. So why should they help them? Now, it is, if we're all Americans and we're all here together, that would be the right thing to do to actually help people, regardless of their economic status. But as you can see, even when Elon Musk was assisting Donald Trump with Doge, he was all in for a few minutes until there was a threat of him becoming the second richest man in the world. Second, he didn't want to be number 2 anymore. You can say what you want. It was an act. Maybe it wasn't an act. It wasn't an act. But regardless, he got out of there because his stock price was going down in Tesla. He's not trying to be number 2. $1 trillion is not enough for him. So he got out. So that is the typical mindset, I think, of Republicans. They don't want to do anything for people who can't do anything for themselves, regardless of the situation. If you can't help them make money, the heck with you. So that's why SNAP is not a priority. That's why affordable health care is not a priority. They feel like you should have your own health care anyway, or why should the government have to pay for it? So these are all things that Republicans are why they're going to lose the next set of elections, okay? The Democrats are only going to win because now the American people are voting for the lesser of two evils because neither party is doing good. If anybody wants to start a third party or independent party, this is a good time to start one because they probably would have some success. And then if you think about how the shutdown has affected this everyday people, I spoke with I guess you could say, I'm not his position exactly. He protects congressmen and senators. He works on Capitol Hill, special police officer, okay? And he hasn't gotten paid, he said, I think, 6 weeks or something. But he still is, he's required to go in. He's an essential employee. So he's trying to figure out how to put gas in his car and how to put food on the table and just try to survive while he's still expected to go to work. And, I feel bad for everyone, but when you hear about somebody who's actually trying to protect the people who are stopping him from getting paid, that adds a new insult to the entire process, okay? He's trying to help a guy out down the hall who doesn't want to pay him. Come on. That's gotta be
who's getting
worse.
paid. And who's getting paid.
And who is still getting paid, correct.
Yes.
And then you got people it's November, we're starting to head into the holiday season. Okay, look. Myself and my wife had a trip planned for months to go to Florida. And of course, the air traffic controller situation went down or reached new heights this past Friday. 2-hour delay, we made it to Florida. Supposed to fly back at 2 o'clock on Sunday to Washington. Well, the flight got pushed to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, we knew it got delayed as far as 8 o'clock by 4 o'clock. And at that point, I'm like, they're probably going to cancel this flight. So at that point, as we're walking to the counter to try to see what options we have to see if we can fly into another airport, etc., my wife gets a notification that the flight has just been canceled. So it's canceled. I made a quick decision. I said, let's go see what we can do, get a refund for the plane ticket. Let's get a rental car. One-way rental is drive it back to Washington. That sounds crazy, right? Drive over 1,000 miles from South Florida back to Washington. My biggest concern was we would be stuck there the entire week because if they canceled flights that day, who's to say they're not going to cancel more flights? And then when are they going to catch up? How many days will it take to actually catch up? So if you're traveling, it could take a week to catch up. And then this problem, if they haven't resolved this shutdown tonight or this week, now you're talking about pushing all these flights right into the holiday season, which is going to cause chaos. So I think the bottom line here, we're learning, America, you know what? We may not be able to convict certain people in a court of law, but the court of public opinion may still save us, okay? Because now people are seeing what was promised and what has actually happened. And again, as I said last week, ask yourself this question. Are you better off today than you were 1 year ago? I don't think anybody's going to say they're better off today than they were 1 year ago. So that's my political take.
CJ, you got something else?
Yeah, like I said, Trump's not even pretending. That's one of the reasons he's doing so bad, because even in the interviews, he can't even pretend to care about people suffering. He's talking about normalizing 50-year mortgages. Even Laura Ingraham was like, damn, what?
Thing.
Like, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah. She'd be dead before you could pay the mortgage.
Yeah. And he's just like,
again, about making money. It's all about making money. Yep.
He's so out of touch. He's talking. I saw the Laura Ingraham interview, but he's also talking about, you need an ID to go to the grocery store.
He has said that like 20 times and nobody has followed up.
Yeah.
I think there are two things that have been criminal that no reporter has followed up. One is the grocery store thing. And someone needs to ask him if he's ever gone grocery shopping and what store and when, and give him like they never ask follow-ups. And secondly, when I 100% think he thinks asylum seekers come from mental institutions, because he says that all the time. He says people are coming in, they're coming from mental institutions. And he's like, what is he talking about? And I think he's talking about asylum seekers. And I think he's that stupid that he thinks, or his people are just telling him that because they know he's a child, that those are people from mental insane asylums that are coming into the country. Because he has repeated that and no one has followed up and been like, what in the actual hell are you talking about? Like, but that's just where we're at. But in order for the country to be safe from that and to capitalize, they would need a competent opposition party. And the Democratic Party is led by a bunch of Nico Harrisons, just through and through, every single one of them. And it's not possible to resist when their resistance is, we tried and it was difficult and we gave up. That's literally where the party is right now. They have no plan. There's no enthusiasm. They killed all the enthusiasm. They had some. They just won elections. They deflated themselves after historic landslide elections. So they did the exact opposite of the thing that got them the election. They want to see fighters, and they continue to just unilaterally surrender to anything that Donald Trump wants. So it's even if he's continues to be historically unpopular, there needs to be some sort of organized resistance to, capitalize on that and not actively work against that, as the Democrats, not even just capitalize, but again, not sabotage their own momentum as they continue to do when they have a Bernie Sanders or a Zoran Mamdani. They try to sabotage themselves and make sure that they lose. And again, they won't even talk about their most popular candidates and policies and have a vision. So again, I hate what's happening with Trump, and he's not popular at all. Even like I said, his own coalition is splintering, but again, there's no faith in what are we going to do about it? Who's going to do anything about it? He's ignoring courts. He's ignoring the UN. I think we're past the point where anybody in charge is going to do anything about it.
Okay.
Darren,
Go ahead, Bill.
One of the things I continuously said on this show over the past few months was, were the American people going to ever wake up? Of the things that he was doing and was getting away with. And then after the elections last Tuesday, and I saw the landslide wins with Mondami and in Virginia and also in New Jersey, I just felt that, wow, people are really waking up. Because if any of us here took a new job and 9 months later, we still hadn't learned the job, we're going to be fired. And so I think what has happened was that the American people got tired of listening to Trump and every Republican, including the Speaker of the House, and every one of them saying, it's Biden's fault. It's the Democrats' fault. I think the American people finally got to the point of saying, wait a minute, your ass has been in office for the past 9 months. Don't tell me it's Biden's fault. Don't tell me it's Kamala Harris's fault. Don't make somebody else a fall guy or as a scapegoat for you. So I think that's why there were landslides. And to be perfectly honest with you, I was floored when they came out and said 8 senators had jumped ship and was going to vote with the Republicans to open the government back. And one of the latest things I heard today was that Chuck Schumer is at risk of losing his position because he couldn't hold the caucus together.
They want Chuck Schumer's head on a pike. Like there's no Chuck Schumer is toast. Even like I said, even super moderate and somewhat conservative Democrats are calling for his head, because that was just the most pathetic fold that's ever. That's embarrassing for the party. It's again, all the bad things we said about the shutdown, the Democrats now have taken political ownership for some reason. Again, everyone's rightfully blaming the Republicans for inflicting this pain upon people, and the Democrats have volunteered to take responsibility for that because they did that and got absolutely nothing for it, and then can't articulate why they waited so long to get nothing. If you're going to get nothing, you should have caved immediately. Yeah. Why did you wait for all these people to not get paid? Why did you hold the line for this long just to be like, actually, we give up? right when it was actually working. The election showed that, the polling showed that,
Sure
them
did.
boos at the Commander Stadium showed that. Like I said, them interviews and like I said, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world turning on him and things like that. Those are real indicators that he was struggling, and the Democrats threw him a lifeline. Again, this is why I don't think this is genuine. I don't think they really care about fighting him. I think Chuck Schumer cut a backroom deal with them Republican senators and those conservative senators, because it's not a coincidence that every single one of those Democratic senators is not up for re-election. They're not going to have political consequences for that, because they know there's going to be huge political consequences for that. And that's why Chuck Schumer voted, to hold the line, because he wanted to save his ass from getting ousted, because he knew what the implications of this would be. And it still looks bad because it shows that, as you said, he can't hold the line. So, okay, so you didn't conspire to stab everyone in the back with these conservative Democrats who are not up for re-election. Well, that just means you suck at your job and they all rebelled against you, even though they're all on the record and saying they conferred with you the whole time, that you were in the loop the entire time when they're, making their backroom deals, when they're selling the American people's healthcare out, that Chuck Schumer was informed the whole time. So there's no way he escapes from this, I don't think, in any situation. And he's polling as I think the lowest polling Senate majority leader ever, I think. So he's toast.
Just to piggyback real quick off of what CJ is saying, if those ACH is allowed to expire, what's going to happen? The money that they're going to make off raising these premiums from 300 to 1,000 and from 600 to 2 or 3,000, that money is going to be used to give a tax cut to Donald Trump's friends and the billionaires. That's why. And those 8 Democrats who have jumped ship, they had to some way get something out of this, because otherwise they're getting nothing.
They'll all retire, go to the revolving door, be lobbyists or consultants or whatever for these companies that they just made a ton of money for, and the corruption will continue.
Yeah.
Well, given the time left, let's fast forward to tomorrow, 8, 10, 24 hours. Mr. Spivey, what's it going to look like tomorrow?
Wow, Gary, you will throw a curveball on you. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Tomorrow, I don't see any change at all. I think things are going to run the same way they're going to run. I think they're going to open the government back up. And those Democrats that have jumped ship and believe that the Republicans say they're going to take a second look at this bill have been hoodwinked. And I think the people at the end of the year, we're talking about November, we're talking about what, 60 days from now, the insurance is going to double and the country is just going to be in a total chaos. But the government will be back open and the Democrats are going to look like a bunch of fools.
Okay. Carlos, what's tomorrow looking like through your crystal ball?
Well, I think the government shutdown. I just don't believe things until they actually happen. So I don't believe it's going to end until it ends. So I'm not too optimistic they're going to get it done tonight, but we'll see. On the other hand, the SNAP benefits, man, I'm still feeling bad for the people who are losing those benefits. And then again, for healthcare, I mean, the outlook is not well. I mean, what are you going to be 80 years old, and you've been retired for 15 and go back to work and try to work someplace and get health benefits? I mean, it's pretty bad. So we're talking about food, healthcare, and if the government opens tomorrow, I prefer to think about all the losing football teams in college and pro football before I think about that. I mean, this is pretty bad. So I'm not too optimistic about tomorrow.
Okay. CJ, final word. What's your crystal ball say about tomorrow?
It doesn't look much different than today, honestly, until more people care and wake up. Again, if enough pain is inflicted upon people, maybe we'll get some action and enough people care to make a difference. But right now, I feel like I'm just watching the Washington Generals get dunked on by the Globetrotters, and this is WWE. It's like political theater. It's just like the Democrats are up, and then they got the call in the earpiece to you got to get hit with the steel chair now, and now you got to let them pin you for the 3 count. And it's like I don't feel like I'm watching anything serious, because again, it's just this revolving door of corruption. So I don't have a super positive outlook, but I have a positive outlook in the American people. And, you know, there's still a lot of good people who could rise up and make a difference, but it's going to take some organization.
Yeah, I see communities all over donating food and things and trying to help people out as much as they can. And I think that's a good thing. Let us know what you think. You know, go to the Thought Brothers website, and put some comments on our YouTube channel, and let us know what you think. But we are the Thought Brothers, and we'll see what tomorrow looks like. And until next week, we're out of here.
Good night, folks.
Hey, you! Come out here on the floor. Let's rock some more. Come out of here on the floor. Honey, let's rock some more, yeah. Now when you get out here, don't you have no fear. Put your hands on your hip and let your backbone slip and work out.